Okay, Alex, nice to have a chat and catch up with you. A good day for you. I think if I've done my own work right, I know you
usually do, don't you?
Yeah, well, you found that great stat for us last week about 94-95. What? 21 games it was the last time you kept a clean sheet.
Really? Well, that shouldn't ever be happening again, should it? And we'll go a long way towards making sure that stats like that don't need to be broken. Always pleasing to keep a clean sheet because, without stating the obvious, it gives you a platform in any game of football to go on and win it then. And as I say, we're really pleased with the attacking options we've got in our team. So if we continue to have a sound base, which we've shown in the first two games, and limit the opposition to very few attempts on goal, then we're always confident we're going to score not just one goal but multiple goals in games. So that's pleasing, and on top of obviously the two wins on the spin just gets us obviously in the right frame of mind to obviously move into the Grimsby game and then what follows after that.
How pleasing was it that you did limit them to hardly a real chance, considering the results have been very hard for them the previous season, but you've won your first one, then in the end you followed up by winning your second one. So is it giving everybody a lift now, those two wins?
Yes, they have, and limited them to very few opportunities is important to us this season, because across the first two games I think the opposition have had 3 shots on target, which is really pleasing for us. We're going to have a sound, solid structural base in terms of how we defend and how we're organised this season, and when you do that your football will evolve from that. And as I say, if you've got a nice sound base, it'll allow everything in the attacking half of the pitch to just take shape, and we won't always click and we won't always play wonderful football. It'd be nice too, and we'll attempt to do that as often as we can, but if you can't quite fire with your football, at least you know that you're going to hold your own end up and limit the opposition to very few attempts, and when you're in that sort of state of mind, you're always competitive in games.
It's your first 3-game week if you look at it from Saturday to your Tuesday, followed up by next Saturday with Salford. Does that alter preparation in terms of thinking for you and how you sort of look after your players to get them prepared mentally and physically?
Yeah, they're completely different ways of preparing when you've got a 3-game week versus a 2-game week. Last week was nice because normally you obviously have the Carabao Cup following on after that first fixture, don't you? But we had a free week to implement even more work into the players, and I thought you saw the benefit of that obviously on Saturday, because I think we took a performance level on in a number of areas of the pitch against Harrogate versus what we witnessed against Rochdale. This week's a bit different because you roll straight into your next game tomorrow, so today will be purely dedicated towards preparing for tomorrow, and then the work that leads into the Saturday doesn't really take shape until the Thursday, Friday, because obviously Wednesday's pretty much a dead day once you following on from a Tuesday night game.
A lot of talk is made at football clubs about recruitment in the summer, and not just here, but all your 8 players now have got some first team minutes under the belt. I think all your signings have gone in your first team. How satisfying is that, and how well have they all settled in? Yeah,
they've all settled in off the pitch brilliantly. They're all good characters. That was one of the key sort of principles that we wanted to look into when we were recruiting players, not just their output on the pitch, but how they would settle into the environment off the pitch, because there's a certain culture that we wanted to develop, and they're all great lads, and they're all really keen not just to accelerate their own careers, but also give something back to this club as well. They're all bought into what we're about here, and I think you've seen evidence of that in the first 2 games. You can only really judge the success of recruitment and obviously the team as a whole once we're deeper into the season, so there's certainly no getting carried away with what we have done so far. It's just a benchmark for what's to come, and they've all added in their own different ways, whether it be the experience of the likes of McDonald, Mellor and Thomas, to the flexibility that you can get from a Lesha Bella, or the firepower that can be provided from a Brook, and the others that obviously have come into the mix as well. Baker Richardson started off with a goal. Anthony Arthur's been a key part of the first 2 fixtures in terms of the dominance he's given us in the box. They've all contributed in their ways, and that's why we brought them into the group. Colcat came on Saturday and used the ball really well. That's why they're here, to add different variety of choices for us and different ways of playing for us.
We'll wait till 7:15 on Tuesday evening for your assistant manager to confirm the team, but where you are, I know you haven't got the biggest squad, but you've got a very compact squad and togetherness that players on the bench were thinking we could get into this first team. Is that in consideration that you might just rotate that squad because of, we said, 3-game week?
Yeah, there'll be changes definitely. We know the team and we discussed it yesterday ahead of what we were going to prepare for today. So there's going to be changes. We want to make sure that the players at the top end of the pitch are fresh when they go into games because they have to exert more energy than the back six do, if you like. So there'll be changes in certain areas of the pitch to accommodate that, and regardless though of personnel, we still expect to go out and win the game because we've started off really positively. There's a good atmosphere around the camp, and that mentality of winning, which is so hard to create, is something that we want to hold on to moving into this week. And by the end of Saturday we'll know more about just where this group's at.
We spoke, in the build-up to the season about the 7 substitute sort of rule that's come in, that you can use 5. You implemented those 5. How important is that in your managerial sort of skills that you get that right as well?
Yeah, I think that ties into what we just discussed as well. The way we play, the front 4 are having to work exceptionally hard to press high and to get after the opposition. So a lot of our substitutions this season are going to come from those front 4 being replaced, because the harder they work, the less energy that the back 6 have to exert. Say back 6, you're talking your back 4 and your 2 midfielders. So we've got a very real way of working in terms of where those substitutions will take place and who they'll be, and it does help having the 5 because we've got players on the bench who can come on and influence games this season, whereas for large parts of last year I don't think you could honestly say that we did have that through a multitude of different reasons, injury being one as well.
How much importance is put on a cup run?
For me, a lot of importance. This club hasn't had too many cup runs over the last 20-25 years, and it should have done with obviously some of the good teams and great players that we've had in that time, but it just hasn't happened, has it? I think the last one in the FA Cup of any real note would have been the Everton one, wouldn't it? I remember being spare man in the squad that day, so that's how long ago that was, away at Everton. In the Carabao Cup, which obviously been a multitude of different names over the years. The League Cup, I think we've had obviously the Villa one recently, but prior to that, I think Manchester United was probably the most recent one of a big club coming to here to play. So we want to get through this tie and hopefully draw one of the big guns in the next round, definitely.
Bring us up to date with your injuries. I think Rio Adebisi is improving. Dave Richards is improving, but the one that all the fans are waiting to see is where's Chris Long?
Yeah, that's taken a lot longer than we'd have hoped. Unfortunately, he sustained an injury against Nantwich, which was obviously the first game of pre-season way back early August, late June was it? So been a long time. I can't even remember because it was that long ago. And unfortunately, Chris has taken a while longer than we'd have liked to recover from it. And the circumstances have led to the fact that we've had to have a good look at if there's something more meaningful in there, which is slowing down the process of him recovering. We're hopeful that will reach its conclusion within the next 10 days and he'll be in the squad within that time frame, because he's going to be an important part of what we're going to do this season.
Social media's been in overtime over the weekend, Alex. I don't know whether you get to read it or whether you pick it all up, but they're linking you with a player, potentially a young player from Manchester United. Is there anything in that?
No, there isn't. No, we've been linked with lots of players throughout the summer. Spoke to lots of agents throughout the summer. There's an area of the pitch that we know that we need to strengthen in the full-back position. I'm not saying that we can get round to doing something, because we won't do it just for the sake of filling a number. It's got to be a player that's going to come and have an impact if he gets into the team. So we are looking in that area, but you've got to have certain things falling into place, both inside the club and externally, in terms of any parent club allowing you to do business with them before anything like that can go any further down the line.